Alrighty, folks, it is Friday. Welcome back to some hobby nightmares. I hope you're all having a very good day. I have a little mascot with me today in Fang. He is sitting behind my monitor, so if anything goes wrong or if I am jumping off the seat because he's about to jump on top of my PC tower under the desk, that is what's going on. He is grooming himself at the moment, having a good time, so there we are. Let's jump into our hobby nightmares for the end of the week. We are on Friday, so congratulations to making it to the end of the week. And if you're one of these people who is working over the weekend, then thank you very, very, very much for making sure the world goes round whilst we all have a bit of a break. Isn't that nice? Anyway, let's jump on with Chris. How's it going, Chris? He says, "Hi North, it's been a while since I contributed to your channel, but I have something that I think we as a hobby community need more of. Some positive vibes for a Friday. Lovely. If anybody remembers my earlier contributions, the weird elf-eared RPG Mentalist and 10 Commandments of Wargaming, you'll know the main reason I returned to the hobby was to spend more time with my son. Recently, we have taken up Bolt Action, a World War II game for all of you 40k Games Workshop fans. I think they all know what Bolt Action is. I'm just a wild guess, but you never know. After watching Rogue Heroes and Band of Brothers together, I got to say, the game is fantastic. The random activation and balanced armies are a welcome relief from standing around for half an hour as the world's sweatiest man with the world's most OP list tables your army on the top of turn 1's shooting phase to leave you blinking and thinking, why did I even bother? Do you know what? I'm going to be honest, even the best 40k games, in my opinion, kind of end up this way. Do you know what I mean? Even the very best 40k games that you play end up with a measurement of this, a measurement of, standing around for a long time whilst your opponent does all of their things and, removing your models. It perplexes me how Games Workshop do not see this as a major design flaw. It's always been a thing. It's always been the main weakness of 40k, even going back in the day, back to the original 40k, people were like, yeah, it is a game where you stand around a lot, compared to others. A lot of 40k players I know from back then went on to do board games and stuff because it's far more interactive with the players that are at your table. Or they'd go into role-playing, right? 'Cause at least if you're sitting there doing nothing, you're watching a story unfold that you're a part of. Whereas, 40k, you're just standing there watching a guy roll some dice and say, yeah, you need to remove that model that died. It's like, okay, great, cool. Maybe I'm just curmudgeonly, I don't know. But anyway. The biggest plus, though, is a bloke called Graham. He owns our local game store and is such an amazing dude whom I can't speak highly enough of. Apart from being a Royal Navy veteran who did dual service in submarines, yeah, he's a nut job then. Sorry. Like all submariners I know are special people. Fair enough, I only know 2, but like they are... Yeah. These are... They're odd. These are odd people. Go underneath the water for 6 months of the year and never speak to anybody and in a tin filled with other people's farts. Excellent. Sounds like a brilliant good time to me. And in the Royal Marines, who has tales that make my war stories look tame. He does loads for the local Garrison Wargaming Society, but for me, the greatest thing he does is treat my son like he is a part of the family. He has spent hours teaching us the basics of bolt action, and in doing so, he has really gotten to know my son and that he can tell quicker than I can when something is going wrong. My boy has ADHD and type 1 diabetes and often struggles to concentrate for long periods when his blood glucose levels are messed up. His emotions are also on a roller coaster, and he struggles when both conditions team up to give him the worst of both worlds. He describes it like feeling as if you've necked 10 Red Bulls and did a bag of crack at the same time. No, my son has not done crack. He is 12 years old. He just thinks it's funny to say that. That sounds like an absolute 12-year-old boy thing to say, yes. Whenever Alex is struggling, Graham is there to support him and help him feel safe and looked after if I am on another table when we are at games night. Good to see you got your priorities straight, Chris. I love you, man. I love wargamers as dads. Son, you're going to have to park your trauma and rolling some saves. It's like... I love you, man. It's all in jest. I know you're a great dad. It's all in jest. The time and effort he puts in with my lad is amazing. He knows full well that dad is often not listened to when things aren't going well, and he is there to keep him on the straight and narrow. It isn't just gaming either. He's there to offer almost grandfatherly advice on how to act and how to talk to people. Graham doesn't stand for impudence and disrespect, but he teaches manners in a way that my elders taught me, and in a way which resonates and sticks with Alex. That being said, he will allow him to be the cheeky kid if it is done the right way. Yeah, that's the thing with parenting, right? You got to allow your kids to have their own personality. You can't browbeat it out of them, but you got to know where the line is. Say, hey, you never cross into disrespect, right? You know what I mean? Cheeky, yes. Have fun, yes. But there's a line. Yeah, I think you're riding it quite well. We had a couple of different wargaming clubs and hobby stores, but never have we ever been made to feel as welcome as we are at Partisan Games. And I can hand on my heart say that our experiences have brought us closer together as father and son. Even away from the store, we are making lists, building and painting minis, or boring each other senseless with World War II trivia. I struggled for years to connect with Alex. I was never a natural dad, and I spent far too much time away from home with the army when he was younger. But now, North, I cannot begin to tell you how much I love that kid and how much better our relationship is now. I've never been a bad dad before the comment section kicks off. I just struggle to find common ground with my son. Dude, don't... Alright, my comment section is normally quite good. Right, you know what I mean? When we're not talking about politics, because politics ruins everything for everybody all the time. But I will say this. If anybody ever does say that you're a bad dad because, circumstances dictated you be elsewhere to provide for your family, just don't even listen to it, right? No one's lived your life. I've had to deal with this too in the past, right? You know my past. You know the struggles I've had with my daughter, right? Not being able to see her, being in another part of the country, and not being able to, have her around, things like that. It sucked because as a man you have very little recourse, to say, listen, I want to see them. It's like, well, it sucks to be you. You have a penis. Again, we just had, I'm not going to get into it, but we've had lots of things with my daughter recently, and now I am seeing her. It's great. We've gone through the process. We have a really good relationship. She looks forward to seeing me every single week. We spend the weekend together every week, and it's really, really good. We've got a really good relationship. But for a while, people would judge you. People go, well, you're not seeing your child. Yeah, I know. It sucks. I hate it. But then they look at you like you're the bad guy. It's like, well, I've got no recourse, man. Aside from spending 10,000 odd pounds that I don't have on lawyers' fees, what can I do? Right? It's one of them. And it gets to a certain stage where, especially for a guy like me, when your kid is getting older and they've not been allowed to see you, all you are to them is a stranger at that point, and all you're going to do by turning up when they're 5 or 6 years old is introduce a whole load of uncertainty and anxiety to their life that they don't need. You know what I mean? So, bad other parents, bad mothers and fathers who keep their ex-partners away from their children, right? They use your goodness against you. They know you don't want to traumatize the kid. So they'll keep you away for 5 or 6 years, so then it's too late. And by the time, because they know you'll think, by the time it gets to 5 or 6 years old, the child, they'll know you'll decide not to chase them down because you're going to create more havoc for this child because you're thinking of them first, unlike the other parent, right? So, I had to deal with that for years. Don't you deal with it, man. Do not deal with it. Just shut it off. They don't know you. Whenever you get... I can tell you've had comments like this because the way you jumped into your own defense there. Don't bother. Because these people don't know you and they'll never come around because they're morons, right? They like to sit on their little hill and judge, wag their little fingers at you. And most of the guys doing this, by the way, will be men. Just saying. There'll be white knights. There'll be men. Oh, how dare you. I've never walked away. Yeah, that's because you could never get another woman, dude. That's why. You just, I'm sorry your life turned out that way, but that's just, there we are. Yeah, but don't let anybody get you down, dude. I've been in the same situation. Don't let it happen, right? And you've done really well. You've turned this around. Everything's going well. Absolutely fantastic. So happy for you. And it's always great when a kid and a dad get a happy ending. No. Rewind. Didn't. I know where your mind's going, right? Stuff. No, I meant like, yeah, it's always good when the story ends well for a kid and a dad. There we go. Let's rephrase that. Anyway, I struggle to find common ground with my son, but because of a tabletop war game, a shared love of history, and one grumpy old submariner who took our young lad under his wing, we have the relationship I was looking to build when we first started this hobby adventure. And if that isn't positive vibes, I don't know what is. All the best, Chris. Well, pass on your thanks to, what was his name? Graham? Yeah, pass on your thanks to him. What a guy. What a chad. Absolutely. Love it. Awesome stuff. Sip of tea time. And the cat has settled down, which is very nice. Good. Hopefully he sleeps. I think he's watching the rain out the window. Wistfully. Anyway. So we have Justin next. He says, "Hello North. It's me, Justin, back with another story. And this time, a bit of a feel-good one. Alright, it is Feel Good Friday. In my last story, I told you about my experience as a judge at a tournament my friend Derek organised. The nightmare involved a problem player, Dave, who thought it was hilarious to weaponise his stench against his opponent. He also made some remarks about how excited he was to crush younger players in the tournament. Fortunately, he lost his match and was eliminated, but that didn't stop him from being a nuisance until he was asked to leave for good more than once." Alright. Okie dokie. So we got some context here. Awesome. "I mentioned that I might return with an update on Dave the Stench Returns, but in your commentary you advised me not to bother. You said to leave him alone as there was probably more going on than I knew. Well, take a smug cup of tea. You were right." Right. I think I remember this now. Yeah, it got to the point with Dave in this past Hobby Nightmare where he was so bad. Like, it was like almost comical how bad he was. So it was like, yeah, and other people were trying to antagonize him and get rises out of him. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, let's not turn into the bullies. Just leave him alone and walk off. That kind of a thing. Anyway, let's carry on, shall we? It turns out that the player Dave was harassing during our tournament claimed not to know him at all. But in reality, they have been lifelong friends. Now that I know them both better, I can see that while the friend was embarrassed by Dave, he definitely acts just like him when nobody else is watching. I'm going to take a wild guess that you agree. Denying you know your friend like that is a pretty shady move. Yeah, that is, yeah. I'm thinking these two friends that you're mentioning at the start of this, like Dave has got something going on, but maybe his friend has too, and his friend is kind of like, he doesn't want to be associated with it. I don't know. Being embarrassed and apologising for them, sure, understandable. But outright putting up his hand and saying, "Yeah, that guy's a whack job. I've never seen him before." Not exactly someone I want in my circle. No, that is a bit weird. That is a bit strange. "Oh, what about that guy, huh?" It's like your best friend. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. "What about this guy, huh?" You know what I mean? You've known him like 17 years, like brothers. Anyway, I've gotten to know both of them through Halo Flashpoint, an incredibly fun game that more people really do need to try. Unfortunately, they're the only ones who play it at my local store. After an accident that put me in a wheelchair temporarily, a drunk driver in a very large truck versus my small sedan, I lost the fight. The game has been a lifesaver. Only having to move a maximum of 4 individual units is a godsend. Because of this, I've been playing Dave quite a lot recently, and honestly, I've started feeling bad for labelling him as a bit of a Dave. For those of you who don't know, Dave is a term we use on this channel for like people who are like almost beyond the pale. Like, Daves are the ones, so there are two forms of like bottom feeder Hobby Nightmare people. Daves are the ones who generally don't know what they're doing because they're just so out there and mentally challenged or or perhaps using their mental deficiencies as a cover of being a dick, right? That kind of a thing. That these are the smelly dudes. These are the dudes who are ruining games by cheating or being Cheeto eating, neckbeards. You know the type. That's a Dave, right? A Jensen is a cerebral Dave. A Jensen is the evolved version of Dave. A Jensen is someone who is very clever at masking themselves, as being normal, but being really devious and nasty and being really, speak down to people. That's a Jensen, right? Those are the two kinds of that guys we've identified on the channel that keep cropping up in Hobby Nightmares. And Dave, in this situation, has been labelled a Dave, for obvious reasons. So I've started feeling bad for calling him a Dave. The guy has issues, sure, many of them stemming from things outside of his control, which have significantly affected his mental and social well-being. Well, isn't it funny, man? Isn't it funny that the more you get to know somebody and their backstory, the more understanding you are of some of their bad behaviours? Just saying. Just saying. There was a time when he stopped coming to the store, and I started to worry about him. Then one day, you started to worry about him. That's progress, dude. This guy's really made an impression on you. Because your last Hobby Nightmare about this Dave was visceral, right? Then one day, he walked in carrying a large box. Inside were his Flashpoint characters and an army of Skaven. He seemed almost too eager to sell me his Spartans and asked if I knew anybody else who wanted his Skaven. This isn't a good sign, man. This isn't a good sign. Whenever lads like this want to give away their things for dirt cheap, bad sign. Check in on them straight away. Ask if they're alright. Instantly, I thought of you, North, and what it means when an avid player suddenly wants to sell their armies. Indeed. Indeed. I'm not saying all of them are thinking about doing something stupid, but just from my own life experience, just check they're okay, just to make sure. Alright? Yeah. I said, sorry Dave, mate, I'm almost exclusively a Sangheli player, the aliens, but these Skaven, man, these Skaven are amazing. Look how hideous they are. You did a great job painting them. I'll tell you what, Derek might know somebody in the kids club who's interested in Skaven. How about you teach him how to play? I don't know, Dave said. I just want to get rid of them. Oh, come on, man. Look at me. I'm a gimpy old man. I can move these pieces all by my frail self. Besides, it's the best way to learn. Skaven from a Skaven player. It's the only way to do it. No, North, I'm not above milking sympathy from my accident. I'm not really that bad. I could walk, just painfully, and moving in and out of my chair is just annoying. Not that I'm incapable. The hobby needs people to mentor the next generation, dude. Can I count on you? Side note, I knew the players he'd had issues with were no longer at the club. Dave sighed and finally agreed. I got one of Derek's team to come in. I think Derek's the manager, right? Cool. And Dave even agreed to shower first. I played Magic while watching them, and honestly, Dave seemed genuinely happy. He ended up giving the team some of his Skaven, but kept most of them. Since then, Dave has been coming in more and more often, and has actually become a regular volunteer for the team's events. He seems to be trying to embrace that mentor role. I told him the kids needed him, and he's really stepped up. Dude, this is so nice. This is so cool. There is no better hobby nightmare than when a Dave or a Jensen is redeemed. The redemption arcs are just the best ones. They're so rewarding to read. Oh, man. Like, you don't need to tell him he was on a hobby nightmare, but give this guy a pat on the back from me. Absolutely. Well done to him. Well done to him. Like, stepping up. I don't know what was going on with Dave here. Maybe he was thinking about doing something silly. Maybe he wasn't. But I like to think that, every man out there, okay, wants to be a dad. If you say that's not you, you're lying to yourself, right? Now, I don't mean you want to have children. I don't mean that. You might not want to have children. You might just be, whatever. But every man out there wants to teach. He wants to be depended upon. He wants people to look up to him, right? That's the purpose of being a man. Okay, it's to lead. It's to be at the front. It's to say, I will teach you. I will mentor you. You can look up to me. And there's no more better sign in life to a man that you're succeeding, even if you don't have a job, even if you're doing nothing with your life, even if you're run down, you're in debt. If other people think what you have to say is worth listening to, if other people want you to teach them how to be a good man, that means you have value and you're succeeding in life, no matter what anything else is going on in your life. You know, that's why we've seen the rise of these toxic influencers, right? They have nothing else going on in their lives. And how dare most of these dudes sit there and tell you to, like, stop playing video games. All these manosphere knobheads, right? You know, honest to God, like, you know, I think every single one of us wants to be like that Dry Creek Wrangler School dude, Dwayne, right? Go look him up. Like, that's the kind of dude you want to be. You just want to be somebody who passes on knowledge, who's made mistakes, who's done shitty things, who's lost everything and rebuilt it multiple times. You know, you may not even be back where you were when you lost everything, you know what I mean? You're on that journey, but you're making it, you're getting there, right? You could be at rock bottom, but you've made those mistakes. As long as a man feels needed and feels like other people want him to pass on his knowledge, and he's there to preserve the next generation, even if they're not his kids, even if they're going to a wargaming club, and they're saying, listen, these kids need you, man. They need you to... This is why so many men go into coaching roles for sports and things like that for free. They do it for free because they're addicted to that need to say, look, I'm helping raise these young men, these young lads. This is what I'm doing, right? And what you've done with Dave here, you've given him that. You've just introduced that to him, and do you know what it's done? It's formed this... Do you know if you make a bridge out of concrete, just concrete, it breaks, right? This breaks. Eventually it warps and breaks. If you put a steel rod in there, it's completely stable, right? You know, by and large. How skyscrapers are made, do you know what I mean? How they stay up. Well, what you've done is you've introduced that steel rod to Dave. Dave was very brittle and he was going to break. He'd had enough, right? He's going to break. What you've done, you've given him this mentor role, and it's been that rod to hold things together. And now he started to build a skyscraper. He started to build his life again from that scaffolding. This is brilliant. This is cool. Yeah. And telling him the kids need him, man. You know, this might be like the fire that is underneath Dave. He may just think, I'm never going to have kids. I'm not good looking enough. I stink and this and that. But then you say, no, man, these kids look up to you. They need you. And he might have gone home and gone, I'm getting a shower, man. I'm doing this for them. I'm going to go in and, right? I'm going to go in and make a difference. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Even better, Dave has started joining Derek and me for our post-tournament dinners at Chili's. So we're making sure he has some adult friends who actually have his back. Dude, brilliant. Did everybody clap and was peace restored to the world? No, not exactly. Dave still has his struggles, but I think he's on a good path. One that might just end with everybody clapped. He just needs to get us out of his mum's house, and I think that will help him immensely. And the good news? He seems to be putting in the effort to make that happen. Cheers, Justin. Awesome, man. Brilliant. Brilliant. Rehabilitated Daves. It's the final form of Hobby Nightmare. It really is. Alright. Who's next? It is Kiwi Dan next. How's it going, man? He says, using my name is fine. 'Tis I, Kiwi Dan. Greetings again, Mr. North. It's been a while for me to send in a Hobby Nightmare thanks to A, work being crazy busy as we wind up our end of financial year stuff, and B, my computer exploding on me, oh my god, I hate that, and C, nothing has really jogged my memory banks. Until today. This is Hobby Light, but does have hobby-related people and technically some hobbies in it. I was listening to some older Hobby Nightmares, and this sparked a memory when I, the talented and handsome writer, was the villain of the tale. Okay. I would remind you of the tale, but it will spoil the surprise. Thanks to lacking a PC, I'll beg your indulgence as I'm typing this out on my phone. The acquisition of a new PC has been a hobby nightmare in itself, but maybe one for another day. Well, if you want some tips, man, I bought my PC ready-made from, I think it was PC Specialist, and they were really good. They were really, really good. Came a few weeks later. They even gave me like updates and videos on them building it with a commentary. You know, because I'd paid for the PC, and the engineer was going, you know, I'm putting this in here, and you know, are you happy with the, you know, are you happy with the layout of the wires and things? I was like, dude, this is brilliant. It's awesome. And they even gave me a video of it switching on the first time, because they don't want you to miss out on it, right? They're like, so he's in the warehouse. Here's the video. We're going to switch it on first time. Let it boot, and here it goes. All right. Do you want any games on there before we send it over? You know, that kind of thing. I was like, dude, this is great. And it came with a warranty. Came to the house, switched on perfectly first time. All worked since. Had a few niggles because it's a new PC. Do you know what I mean? But like, brilliant. You know. So yeah, use them. PC specialist. Anyway. So grab some of that Yorkshire tea you so love, get comfy, and let's begin. I will, thank you. Back in the dark age of technology, before the unleashing of cellular phones with cameras, 6 irresponsible young males decided that with the Easter holidays quickly approaching, a road trip was in order. A long road trip. The best road trip. With blackjack and hookers. I hope it wasn't, but there we go. As the group was split between 2 cities, a reasonable compromise of the township of Napier was met, as this was the halfway point. Napier is famed for its golden beaches, stunning weather, and, most importantly, to a bunch of males in their early mid-20s, easy women. Why don't you just stay there then? Why are you going on a road trip? Kango and his mate Colo, you're Australians, or New Zealanders, one of the two. Kango and his mate Colo were heading down from Auckland. Yeah, there we go. Chasey-kins, Sticky, myself, and our mate Naddox were coming up from Wellington, but sadly, Lamb Chops and our mate Swerg were stuck in the city. What are these names, man? These are just... Okay. Lamb Chops, thanks to just starting at Games Workshop, and Zwerg, who was grounded by his SO after I drunkenly spilled that all the arrangements for the trip were made in front of her. Okie dokie. The day of the trip arrived, and the 4 of us crammed ourselves into Naddox's jalopy. First thing we did, once we arrived, was to wait for Kango and Colo to show, as they had booked our accommodation. A couple of hours passed, then the boys arrived, and some ground rules were set. Number 1, if you break it, you buy it. We were going to an Airbnb before it was a thing. Number 2, we all take turns cooking dinner. We'd all chip in for the breakfast. Lunch was your own concern, but you had to pay for the dinner you made. 3, no fapping over the weekend. Either you got laid or you suffered. That's fair. These are all fair rules, man. These are all fair rules. You don't want to be walking in on your friend, you know, saying hello to his little friend, you know what I mean? Q4 days of drinking, eating, drinking, going out, drinking, playing fighting games on the projector that Naddox had brought with him, blackjack, poker, drinking, and playing rugby while, you guessed it, drinking. We also played the 100 shots in 100 minutes game. Rules are simple. 1 shot of beer every minute for 100 minutes. With every 10th shot being a spirit of each person's choice. You lose when you throw up. This sounds really easy until you actually do it. I lasted about 20 shots, with most of the boys bailing out between 30 to 50 shots, till it was just Sticky and Colo left. Sticky managed to last until 70-ish, and Colo hitting the 90-ish mark. His full nickname was Colossus for a reason. We were having a grand old time. I'm not noticing any women here, man. Look what's happened to that part of the plan. This happens all the time with dudes, right? You go away with your bros, and you go, yeah, we're gonna get laid, we're gonna do all this. And you know what is most important is what comes out, right? You just want to spend time with each other. You go out, you're drinking, you're eating, you're having fun, you're listening to music, you're playing video games, you're going out again, you're drinking, and you're looking at the women go by. Don't get me wrong, you're like, oh, look at that, bloody hell. But then you don't end up getting laid because you're having too much of a good time with each other. And you know what happens, dude? That's when you actually do get laid, because other people are like, hey, they don't need us. They're not going out trying to get laid, you know, like, yeah, it's just... But most of the time, you're oblivious anyway because you're having such a good time with your friends that you're creating good memories, man. You know, it always happens. It's happened to me so many times where you go to a city and you're all going, you know, oh, I hear that the talent's good down there. Great, let's get down there. And you go down there, and because you've not seen each other for like a few months, you just cracking jokes, having a good time, getting smashed, you know, eating good food, watching the game, playing video games, you know, going to a metal bar, whatever. And you just you don't register the women. It just doesn't happen. That's what I think's going on here. You're just having a good time with your bros. It's healthy, man. Healthy. Anyway, we were having a grand old time, but thanks to us all behaving or being single males, our diets consisted of horrendous amounts of beef, mushrooms, onions, pig products, and cheese. And that brings us to the main point of the story, the part where your author and villain takes the stage. After a long night of drinking at the local strip club, we spent the day nursing yet another big hangover. The huge breakfast of bacon, sausages and eggs were getting slowly digested while our kidneys throbbed from the hammering they'd been receiving over the last couple of days. Chasey was sitting in a beanbag reading Storm of Iron, still one of my favourite 40k novels. Sticky was at a desk on a laptop while the rest of the boys were spread around the house or out getting second breakfast. I watched Sticky play some RTS game when I felt a sudden sharp pain in my stomach. This pain came and went for a couple of minutes and I thought, okay, nature's calling, better hit the head. Walking past Chasey, I realised, as all men do, that I had been mistaken, and what was filling my rectal cavity was a huge amount of gas. And being the typical male, I walked up to my mate, said, "Hey, Cheesykins," and as he looked up, released a long, loud pork, egg and onion powdered 3-noter right into his face. His shriek of disgust and the exclamation of, "I felt that, you prick," sent both myself and Sticky into an almost paralytic fit of laughter. This started, unfortunately, an unofficial game, where the goal was to pass wind on as many people as possible, and while I don't remember who won, I definitely remember who lost. Cheesykins' favourite spot was that beanbag over and over at the long weekend, and did not learn that it put his face right at arse level. This poor guy just wants to play Dawn of War, and you're just there farting in his face. Nor to this day, it still makes me cringe and disgust at myself, while I occasionally, honestly, can't stop smirking at how hilarious it is 20 plus years later. The whole time I've been writing this, it's made me smirk to the point where my face is hurting. Oh, to be a young and dumb man again. It was probably one of the most fun holidays of my life, despite going home completely blue-balled and with a mediocre case of alcohol poisoning. Dude, that's a good weekend, man. And you know that next wank is going to be an epic one. You know you're going to get home and like put on the candles and get the good porn out. Just like set mood music. Yeah. I'm going to have one of them long baths today. Yeah, this bath is only going to be like 20% water when I'm finished with it. Anyway. Thanks for reading. Apologies if it's a bit of a slog. Promise the next one will be a lot better written. Peace out, Kiwi Dan. Alright. Absolutely, man. Thank you very much. That was awesome. And, you know, it's good to be guys every once in a while. Dude, you even brought the guy out to me there. I was getting disgusting towards the end of that nightmare. You know, the guy comes out. Like, you know, just like, dudes, man. Lads. It's what you do. You just take the piss out of each other. I will say this, right? If you've known a fellow man for so long, he's basically your brother. If he's in a situation where he's not gonna get into danger, but like something really embarrassing might happen and you can stop it, you say nothing. You say nothing. Because you're thinking, a story's developing here. I'm going to dine out on this. I guess this is going to be brilliant. So there's one time, so one thing that I did back in the day, and a lot of you are going to go, oh, you're such a dickhead. He got me back plenty of times, right? Anyway, my friend Steady and I are going to town in Durham. And we're going to go, have some drinks. And, it's Friday night. Here we go. We've worked really hard all week. So we're walking into town, and we're walking past these like tennis courts, and there's a road going past the tennis courts, and it's basically in a wood, right, a woodland area. And Steady's like, "Oh, I'm breaking my neck, man. I'm not gonna make it." And I was like, "Oh, well, just go over there in the bushes." He goes, "All right then." He goes off the street. He goes, "You're gonna watch out for me, aren't you? Because there's girls come up and down here." And I was like, "Yeah, of course I will, of course I will." You can tell what I did, right? So he's got these pants that I just remember, like, you had to like pull them down a little bit to have a wee. So he's pulled them down a bit. He starts pissing against the tree, and these like stone cold hotties come walking in the opposite direction towards us, and I'm like, oh, do I warn him, or do? Because I'm smashed at this point, you know what I mean? I've had a few beers. I'm like, and they get towards me, and I just go, do you know what? Sod it. And I just go, oh, look at this. What a pervert. I just point over to him. And they all look over. And they just see, like, his arse. And he's facing the tree. And he's like, oh, you dickhead. You said you wouldn't do that. And they went, oh. And then they just walked off the other end of the place. Anyway, now, that sounds really bad from me. Now, bear in mind, this is a day after, on a night, downstairs, right? I've looked at this girl for months, thinking she's so hot, she's so gorgeous, and she's been giving me the eye for a while, but I've never gotten the time to speak to her. So I'm downstairs, and everyone's getting smashed because it's a formal night. So basically, everyone dresses up in fucking Harry Potter gowns because it's a posh university. I'm outside, and I'm finally talking to her. It's brilliant. Talking to her, having a few drinks. It's going really well. And we're having a laugh, and a bit of a kiss and a cuddle. It's going excellent. And I'm thinking, oh my God, dreams have come true. I'm going to marry this woman, right? I'm drunk as a skunk. Anyway, Steady, who's a very large fellow, by the way, very hench dude. He likes to play rugby, and he likes to rugby tackle people. And he's had a few. And I'm facing this girl, and I can feel like the do behind me of Steady's little feet approaching me on the ground. So being the seeing it coming or feeling it coming, I step to the side and look behind me, only to see Steady look at me in horror as he barrels full force into the space where I just was, straight into this girl, tackling her to the deck, right? When I say he hit her at full speed, I mean, like, this is an NFL-style, howitzer. Just bang! Right on. Dude, I was proud of him. If that was in an actual game, I'd be like, wow, dude, this is great. But anyway, she hits the deck, right? And she starts crying. And when I say crying, I mean screaming, crying. I'm thinking she broke her arm or something. She didn't. She's being a little bitch, right? There's nothing wrong with her, right? And Steady's lying there going, oh, sorry about that. I was aiming for him. And I was like, dude, I will never forgive you for this. So what I did was harsh, but it was also, we were even. And even he was like, all right. Like, we were even. He got off lightly, because that was, I was on for it. It was going really well. God damn it. Anyway, that's lads, though, for you. This is lads. This is what we do. We get into bad situations, and we laugh about it years later. That girl was fine, by the way. She wasn't even grazed or anything. I think it was just the shock of getting knocked over by, like, a 6'2" sized, rather large, muscular howitzer, coming at her at high speed. Anyway, there's 2 laddie stories from my past. Do you have any? Put them in the comment section down below. I love you all a long time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.